Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be talking about the best and worst new foundations from 2022. So if you want to see that video, just keep watching. So I first want to talk a little bit about my skin type. So I am 32 years old. I like a lighter to medium coverage foundation. My preference is for skin to still look like skin in person. My favorite type of foundations are foundations that don't feel heavy on the skin, that still have that skin-like quality to them so that I can wear them in person, have them still look really beautiful, but I can also wear them for more special occasion events and they still hold up and look really beautiful as well. So those are just kind of my preferences, and I thought that this video would be helpful because there's been a lot of new foundation releases in the year of 2022, and honestly, a lot of them have been really, really great releases. Some of these foundations are in my absolute top 5 of all-time favorite foundations. One of them is a Holy Grail foundation, and you have heard me kind of talk about a lot of these foundations throughout the year as well. So I just want to go over the products that I highly recommend. If you are new to my channel is focused on luxury beauty and a really curated collection. So I like to talk about the best of luxury beauty products because I really want you to have a curated collection that you really enjoy as well, instead of just having like tons and tons of makeup that just ends up sitting there. So I hope that you find this full roundup video helpful. I'd love to hear from you your favorite foundation releases of the year. So this is going to be a long video, and I do want to just preface that I am trying to differentiate the foundations using different words, but a lot of the foundations that I like, they have the same qualities to them, so I might be a little bit repetitive, but I still hope this video is useful and you find it helpful. But I'm going to start off with the worst foundation that I tried in 2022, and I actually don't have it with me because I did return it. That's how much I did not like it. And it was the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Medium Coverage Liquid Foundation with hyaluronic acid. So this was released a few months ago, and it's supposed to be a 16-hour natural glow foundation with buildable medium coverage to hydrate, smooth, blur pores, and brighten skin. Now, the interesting thing about this foundation is that it says that it's supposed to smooth the skin and blur pores. I did not find that at all. I found it actually really sat on my skin and looked quite heavy. It just never really melted into my skin. Whenever I applied the foundation, you could see foundation and you could see makeup sitting on top of the skin. That is just not my preference. I like a foundation that really adheres and melts into the skin, that becomes kind of second skin-like. Even though a foundation might be fuller coverage, they still have that quality of melting into the skin. And this foundation, it had that fuller coverage. I would say it's buildable to a fuller coverage, but it never just melted into the skin that I like. So it always looked really makeup-y on the skin. And I didn't find that it smoothed the pores at all on me, personally. It accentuated pores and it made them look worse, especially at the end of the day. My skin looked completely greasy and really, really oily, which is so rare because I have extremely dry skin. Now, I know a lot of people love this foundation, so I think, and it comes down with every foundation, it is all up to personal preference. It is how your skin, your pH reacts with the foundation. So just because I don't love it doesn't mean you won't have the same experience, and it doesn't mean that other content creators on YouTube had the same experience I did, because I have heard a lot of people say that this is like one of their favorite foundations. But that was a miss for me. And then number 9 on my list was also something that I returned, and that was the Dior Forever Skin Glow Hydrating Foundation. And Dior says that this is a foundation that has up to 24 hours of wear and provides visibly radiant, medium to full coverage and hydration. And you know what? I found this a little bit similar to the Charlotte Tilbury in that it just looked heavy on the skin and never had that sensation where it melted into the skin. It just always was very detectable on my skin, and I don't really like that. It also had this quality about it where I could feel it on my skin, and I'm someone that if I am going to wear foundation, I want it to feel really lightweight, virtually like I have nothing on, maybe just like skincare on. And this foundation just felt like makeup on the skin, which I didn't really enjoy. It also oxidized pretty badly as well. So oxidization with foundations happens usually an hour or two after you've applied the foundation. It will turn about a shade or two darker and might get a slightly orange tint to it as well. It's just how it dries down on the skin. Sometimes foundations do that. I've heard a lot of people say that Dior foundations do oxidize on their skin, and I'm going to talk about another Dior foundation, and that foundation doesn't oxidize, but this one definitely did, and I just didn't really like it. Again, it just wasn't very flattering on the skin. It might have looked good if you saw it on camera, but in person it didn't look good. It just looked heavy. It accentuated dry flakes, even though it's supposed to be a hydrating foundation, and I didn't love it. And again, it was one of those foundations that as I wore it throughout the day, it looked worse. I like foundations that maybe when I apply them, I mean, obviously I want it to look good when I apply them, but I like foundations that look better throughout the day. And this foundation just wasn't that for me, unfortunately. So that is number 9 on the list. Number 8 on my list is actually a foundation that so many people recommend and talk about, especially as a long wearing foundation. Now, I'm just someone who doesn't really like a matte foundation. I don't really like anything that is super full coverage. So again, that's just preference sake. So some of you might really love this foundation, and this is by no means a bad foundation. And here in the ranking video is where I think these foundations are good. They're just not things that I would wholeheartedly recommend that you spend your hard-earned money on. Again, personal preference. But this is the Chanel Ultra Le Tint Ultra Wear All Day Comfort Flawless Finish Foundation. I did pick it up in the shade BD41 and B30, but BD41 was actually a little bit too deep on me. This one seems to run a little bit darker than some of the other foundations, so B30 ended up working for me. So this is a fluid foundation that pushes the limit, ultra long wear comfort, and a natural flawless finish. High perfection. It evens out all complexions and helps to keep shine under control for perfect skin with a luminous matte finish. It is sweat-proof, transfer-free formula, offers flawless wear for up to 24 hours. So again, this is supposed to be a more long-wearing matte foundation. Well, it's luminous matte that's sweat-proof and transfer-resistant. I will say that this is transfer-resistant and it is incredibly long-wearing. I just feel like it was a little bit heavy on my skin. This is not a foundation that I would recommend if you want it to look like you are wearing no makeup. This is a foundation that it does look like makeup. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, especially if you do have a more special occasion where you just want your makeup to look completely flawless. And it did have a nice blurring capability, but I just didn't like, again, how full coverage it was. Again, the nice thing about a full coverage is that you can thin it out. You can also mix it into maybe one of your lighter coverage foundations. That's one of my favorite tricks. But I just never loved how this wore on its own. And when I am looking for a high perfection foundation that's maybe fuller coverage, I want to be able to wear it on its own and not just mixed in with other foundations. And this one, I think it was just a little bit too drying on my already dry skin. Now, this is not really targeted towards my skin type though. It doesn't say it's good for like super dry skin. So this is just something that I think was a bit of a miss for me. But if you're someone with a lot of discoloration or maybe post-blemish marks, you might really like this foundation because of the coverage level that it gives. And I have nothing bad to say about the longevity. It did wear very long. I just think that after 8 hours, I started to feel it on my skin again. It didn't feel very lightweight. And I just like my foundation to feel kind of like next to nothing. But this is, again, nice for me, and I will get use out of this if I want to mix it in with other foundations. But that is just my thoughts on this Chanel Ultra Le Tint. So the next on my list is the Chanel No. 1 foundation, and I picked this up in the shade BD41. So this is a better shade match for me. It's a pretty nice warm toned light to medium shade. Now, I really enjoy this foundation when I apply it. It looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. It has that really great blurring technology where it just gives that really soft focus effect when you apply it. It smooths out any pores or texture on the skin. This is a light covered foundation, probably buildable to medium. It gives a very beautiful coverage and it just looks lovely on the skin. It's a very great everyday foundation. But the problem that I had and that I find with this foundation is that it's not long wearing. At around the 4 to 6, I would say 4 to 6 hours, yeah, it starts to get quite shiny on the skin. Now that it is fall and winter though, I'm starting to like this foundation a lot more. It actually looks beautiful for longer. I could probably get 6 to 7 hours of wear before it starts kind of falling apart. But because this isn't a long wearing foundation, that is where I'm hesitant to recommend it as an everyday foundation, because I am someone, I work like an 8:30 to 5 job. So if my foundation is not going to hold up throughout the whole day, then that's a problem for me. And I feel like most of my viewers, they also have jobs where they're working like 9 to 5. So if a foundation is not going to last you your whole day, that's why I'm kind of hesitant to recommend it and why it kind of falls down on the list. It does wear longer in the fall and winter time though, when the weather is not as humid or is not as hot out. That is what I'm finding right now. I'm actually wearing this foundation currently, and I think it looks really nice. Again, it gives a really great blurred look to the skin. My hesitancy to recommend it is just that longevity piece. But if you were looking for a fall, winter, daily foundation, I think you could get away with this lasting 8 hours. You might just have to touch up the foundation. And when it does wear away, it doesn't wear away awkwardly or patchy or anything. What it does is it just gets quite shiny. So it's something that you will need to bring like touch-up powders with, or like touch-up sheets as well, those little blotting sheets. This is something that I find that you do have to touch up by the end of the day if you are wearing it all day long. But if you need a foundation for like an event where it's only maximum 4 hours and you want your skin to look really pretty in person, this is a great in-person foundation because it is virtually undetectable on the skin. It is very skin-like. It just smooths into the skin. It blurs a little bit of that discoloration, but if you do have more discoloration on the face and post-blemish marks, you will require a fuller coverage concealer over top in specific areas. But it is really pretty on the skin in person, which is why I do enjoy it. The downfall of this is just the longevity's sake. And I will say, if you're someone with really sensitive skin like me, I can't wear this more than 2 days in a row or it will break me out. And I think it's because of the oils in this foundation. This is a buildable foundation with a luminous finish. Enriched with red camellia oil and moisturizing ingredients, the formula softens skin and helps protect against environmental aggressors. The complexion appears plump and naturally more beautiful. Day after day, skin takes on a youthful glow. So I do really enjoy that this is a skincare makeup hybrid. Those are some of my favorite products. Just not my favorite for practicality and for longevity's sakes, for the everyday woman who is out and about all day. That is where the downfall is. So this is kind of like my weekend everyday foundation when I'm only going to be wearing makeup for a short amount of time. But now number 6 on my list, and again, when things get like to the top 6, this is where it was really challenging. But I decided to go with the Hourglass Ambient Soft Glow Foundation. So this is described as a weightless liquid foundation that delivers buildable medium coverage with light diffusing effect for up to 6 hours. It is a medium coverage with a natural finish, and it has light diffusing pigments that deliver a natural soft focus finish and help protect against blue light with blurring spheres that minimize the look of imperfections, fine lines, and wrinkles. So I do agree with that. This is a medium, actually, you know what, I'd say it's more of a medium full coverage. This is definitely fuller coverage. It is very similar to that Chanel foundation, the Ultra Le Tint that I mentioned. It's a full coverage, but it's a really nice full coverage that actually feels really lightweight on the skin. And this was a foundation that I didn't mind wearing all day long because, again, I couldn't feel it on my skin. It didn't feel heavy in the slightest, even though it was a fuller coverage foundation. So if you're someone that suffers from a lot of redness, if you get easily irritated skin, if you do have a lot of discoloration, or you just prefer a fuller coverage foundation, this is very, very beautiful. This is a foundation that, even though it is long wearing, it doesn't look worse throughout the day. It actually looks better. It starts to infuse with your skin after a few hours, and it does look a little bit more skin-like as the day goes on. And it's just such a beautiful finish. I would say it's more of a natural velvet sort of finish, where it just kind of looks like your skin texture, but is a little bit glowing. But it's not too glowy where it looks greasy on the skin. It doesn't emphasize texture. It reduces the appearance of pores and fine lines on the skin, like it says. I just think it sits over top of the skin really nicely. So if you're someone with mature skin that does like a fuller coverage, I think you would really like this Ambient Soft Glow Foundation. Now, this is not an everyday foundation for me, even though I really like the longevity of this and how it looks on the skin. I don't think it actually looks like skin in person. So if you were to be one-on-one with me in person, I think that you can see the makeup on the skin. So that is why I don't like it as an everyday foundation. is just because you can see the foundation on the skin, even though it doesn't look cakey, like it doesn't look like a heavy foundation. Because of that, that is why I would not use it as an everyday foundation. But again, if you're looking for something that will look good on camera, that will look good for events, that is very long wearing, this is a great foundation. Up next, I have the Clé de Peau. This is the Radiant Cream Foundation. So this is a skincare-based cream foundation with moisturizing medium to full coverage that visibly perfects the skin with a naturally dewy, lustrous finish. It provides exceptional all-day wear that resists creasing and caking, proven flawless for 24 hours, formulated with deeply hydrating ingredients that comforts the skin while minimizing the look of signs of aging and imperfection. Skin feels smooth and moisturized even after makeup is removed. Honestly, everything that Clé de Peau described about this foundation is true. This is an absolutely fantastic medium to fuller coverage foundation, and I prefer it slightly over the Hourglass because I think that you can actually thin out the Clé de Peau Radiant Cream Foundation a little more so that it looks a little bit more skin-like. So this is actually my favorite kind of special occasion going out foundation, I want to say, because it gives me a little bit more coverage than some of my everyday foundations, but it also looks really nice and skin-like on the skin because you can thin it out, and it does have that really nice tendency that it really melts into the skin, or that really nice quality where it melts into the skin, which I really enjoy in my foundation. I feel like when I first apply it, not that it looks heavy, but it almost reminds me of how this looks. Like, it does look like makeup on the skin. It's not going to be totally imperceptible, but as you wear it, like maybe an hour after, it just really melts into the skin and sits on the skin so beautifully. It really refines the look of any texture on the skin. If you're someone that suffers from pores, this is a fantastic medium to fuller coverage foundation that does not emphasize pores. I actually gave my mom a sample of this to try out because she just wanted something that maybe she could reach for a more special occasion, and this was the foundation I suggested, and she loved it as well. And she is in her 60s and with more mature skin. She said it didn't settle into any lines or wrinkles or anything like that, and she loved how it wore. And I saw it in person on her, and I thought it looked absolutely beautiful because, again, her skin just looked really perfected and even more beautiful. It just looked more enhanced without it looking like there was a lot of makeup applied. You could still see the skin texture through. You could still see skin quality through, so that it did look like more of a skin-like foundation, but it just adds more of a perfecting effect. And I really love this foundation. It just feels so nourishing on the skin when you apply it. It never feels drying. It never feels heavy. It's just a really lightweight feeling foundation. And it's the type of foundation that gets better with wear instead of worse with wear, which is always a nice quality in a foundation to find. So like I said, my top 5 list was really hard, but the top 3 to 4 was extremely hard. Like all of them from my top 5, starting with that Clé de Peau one, they're all really hard to narrow down what is the actual best. So ranking here, it gets iffy and it could change easily. But besides the point, this next on my list, number 4, is the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. It evens, illuminates, and hydrates. So this is a first of its kind versatile face makeup formula infused with ultra concentrated micro droplet pigments. A refreshing, lightweight texture and a formula that helps to keep skin hydrated and protected all throughout the day. Customizable application, pinpoint concealing, or perfecting veil of coverage for an incredibly natural, flawless finish. So pretty much exactly what it says. If you are familiar with the Chanel Water Fresh Tint, this is essentially the exact same product, but it has a little bit more coverage. And I really like this because, well, first of all, the bottle is insanely easy to travel with. I'm going to be going to Vegas this weekend, and I'm going to bring the Clé de Peau Radiant Cream Foundation and this foundation just because they're really easy to travel with on a carry-on bag. And I just love how this sits on the skin because it's so easy to apply. You don't necessarily require to set it down with powder, especially if you're just going for like an easy breezy everyday occasion application. But it has this great technology where it blurs the appearance of texture and pores on the skin. So it adds that really beautiful, soft focused, filtered effect on the skin, which is exactly what this foundation does. But this one just offers a little bit more coverage so that you don't necessarily require a fuller coverage concealer over top. Now, this is a medium coverage, so if you do have like darker discoloration marks, you might require concealer. but I just really love how this looks on the skin because of these beads. So they're little like micro droplets of pigment, and when they are dispersed onto the skin, they kind of burst, and they have this just beautiful technology to them where they just smooth onto the skin in such a beautiful way where, again, everything is just filtered and blurred out. The appearance of your skin looks incredibly smooth, but it does not look like makeup on the skin. Especially this product, this is like the best no makeup product out there. But even this, it actually does not look like makeup on the skin. So if you're looking for an everyday foundation that doesn't look like makeup sitting on your skin, this is absolutely fantastic because when you smooth it out onto the skin, it is just such a thin formula that you can't see that layer of makeup on the skin, which I absolutely love. And it's just such a fantastic, fantastic product. The other thing that I really love about this is that you can use it under your eyes. This is the first kind of hybrid foundation concealer product that I have found that actually looks really beautiful on the under eye area. I will say that if you're going to apply this as a concealer with another foundation over top, you need to apply this as a concealer first and then apply your foundation over top because it does have the tendency to pill if you apply other products on top of it. So that is kind of the one, I guess, downfall of it, but I always do my concealer before foundation anyways. And I just think this looks absolutely beautiful because, again, it does offer that lighter to medium coverage finish. So it just looks so skin-like, and it's a beautiful in-person foundation. If I was going to have lunch with someone or have coffee with someone or even dinner where we're going to be close in contact, this is the kind of product that I would reach for because it still slightly perfects your skin and makes your skin look even better, but your skin will still look like skin in person, which I really like, and I think is just a little bit more of a flattering look. Number 3 on my list is the Guerlain Peau Gold Radiant Matte Skin Perfecting Longwear Foundation. I actually liked this foundation so much, I picked it up in 2 shades. So I have the shade 3N, which is slightly too deep for me, and then I have the shade 1.5N. So I figured that I would get this shade just because this foundation mixes so well with other foundations. Any other product that I've mixed it in with, it has mixed so well. And a lot of my foundations are more on like the dewy side, I would say, or more glowy side. So I thought it would be beneficial for me to get a lighter matte foundation. This is not a super matte, it's like a velvet finish, just so I could add it into foundations because I have been noticing that my foundations are running maybe like slightly too deep for me. So it's just great to lighten up. You need like just the smallest little tintiest bit of this foundation to just lighten it up a little bit. But that's besides the point. So this is a foundation that is formulated with skin-loving and naturally derived ingredients that ensures no transfer and has up to 24 hours of wear and a radiant matte finish. Now, this does claim that it's a full coverage foundation and that it's a matte finish. I don't agree with that. I think this is actually a light, buildable to medium coverage foundation, which is really unique for a more matte foundation. A lot of matte foundations are targeted as fuller coverage, for example, that Chanel Ultra Le Tint or the Hourglass foundation. And sometimes I just want a more natural velvet matte finish that is lighter coverage, especially in the summertime when I prefer light coverage foundations. That is what I want to reach for, something with a matte finish but is still light coverage. And this is exactly that product. This product still allows your skin to shine through, and it is so beautiful just when you smooth it over top of the skin. You do have time to play with it as it's not set down right away, and it just smooths over texture and pores with such ease. The application is just very, very lovely with this foundation. I just find that this is one of the longest wearing foundations that I have ever seen on my skin. It doesn't require any touch-ups throughout the day. I don't need to powder it. It doesn't look glowy, like too glowy throughout the day where I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I could wear this to work and then I could go out after work and still wear this foundation and it still look really nice. It smooths over texture on the skin. If you're someone with pores, this foundation would look absolutely beautiful because it just smooths over that area. It adds that really nice filtered effect. And the longevity, like I said, is just incredible. So this is one of my favorite foundations. Again, if I am doing something in the evening where I want my foundation to be more long wearing but still looks like skin, this is absolutely beautiful. It is available at Selfridges, and if you can pick this up, I would absolutely recommend it because it's just one of the best foundations that I've ever tried. This is still a little bit newer to me, so it didn't quite make my top 2, but it might. And even though I tested this out in the summer, and I typically reach for more matte foundations maybe in the summer just for longevity's sake, it still looks absolutely beautiful in the fall and winter time. Even though my skin is super dry right now, it is not a drying matte foundation at all. So if you're someone with mature skin who is looking for a flattering matte foundation, this still allows your skin to show through. This is excellent. And number 2 on my list is the Dior Capture Totale Super Potent Serum Foundation. Now, you have heard me sing the praises of this foundation pretty much all year. I think I tried this out in January of this year. It was released last year, but I did not pick it up until this year. And I think this is just one of the most underrated foundations on the market. No one talks about it, and I wish they did, because this is just one of the best. It is beautiful. So this is, again, a skincare makeup hybrid. This Capture Totale Super Potent Serum Foundation harnesses the science of mother cells and Dior skincare expertise. It acts to correct 4 facial skin parameters for a youthful complexion by targeting wrinkles, dark spots, and loss of firmness and radiance. The serum foundation melts in, luminous texture instantly leaves skin smooth, radiant, and supple. The foundation stays in place all day, providing comfort and hydration for a long-lasting plumping effect. And I totally agree with everything that Dior said about this foundation. Now, I do have this in the shade 3N. It works pretty well for me. It's maybe like a tad too dark, but this is the best match I could get. 2N would just be too light. But again, it does make your complexion look just so youthful. It brings life back to your complexion. It is the most flattering finish in a foundation. It is like the Goldilocks of foundations. It's not too glowy, it's not too matte. It's a perfect velvet finish. And what I really love about this is how it looks on the skin, because it is one of those foundations that does not look like foundation on your skin. You can still see skin texture through it, but it has this beautiful blurring property, this very filtered effect on the skin, which you've heard me describe a lot of these foundations, because that's what I look for in a foundation, and that's kind of like a must-have requirement for me to like a foundation. But this has like the most blurring effect on the skin, where everything just looks so smooth, texture is just so reduced, and it looks absolutely beautiful on the skin, while again, you can still see skin texture through, so it doesn't look like makeup on your skin. So this is just my favorite everyday foundation. And because it's that perfect Goldilocks foundation of like not too glowy and not too matte, it lasts all day long on the skin. It doesn't look too shiny. I never have to touch this up. This is one of those foundations that gets better throughout the day with wear. It doesn't look worse as the day goes on. It looks better. And for that, I love it. And I feel like, again, this is such an underrated foundation, and I wish more people talk about it because it is absolutely beautiful. And this foundation has also remained consistent. I wore it throughout the winter last year. Now it's fall time. I wore it throughout the summer. It lasts all day long in any season. It looks just as beautiful in the winter as it does in the summer. And I have nothing bad to say about this foundation. Well, no, I do. I wish they would offer it in more shades. But other than that, I absolutely love this foundation. And it's one of those skincare makeup hybrids. It's not like ridiculously priced. It actually has a decent price point in comparison to some of my other favorites. So just love this foundation. If you haven't tried this out, highly recommend. And number 1 on my list, might not be a surprise if you have seen my review of this foundation or kind of my recent videos where I just kind of sing the praises of this. This is the Peau The Foundation. I have mine in the shade 040. This is a reformulated version of the foundation that was just released from Peau. Not just released, it was released in like June in Canada, so I've been testing it out for quite a while. But this is the foundation of everything. Offering superior coverage, blur perfection technology diffuses the appearance of imperfections while retaining a beautiful translucency. And yeah, I agree. This is just the foundation. Like, it is, you couldn't have a better name for it because it is just the best foundation. This is a great foundation for any occasion. I can wear this during the day and it looks so beautiful, but I also could wear it for special occasions because my skin just never looks better when I wear this foundation. It just looks completely smooth. Everything is blurred and evened out, but it doesn't have too much coverage. Like, it's not a full coverage foundation by any means. Even though it does say it offers superior coverage, it's not full coverage. If you have discoloration, you're going to need a concealer over top, but the blurring technology of this foundation is superior. It is like above the rest. It is so, so good. It leaves my skin just looking so healthy, so youthful, so stunning, so flawless without a ton of heavy coverage. It has this like light diffusing property to it where the skin just looks filtered and blurred and so gorgeous. This is a fantastic in-person foundation. If you're going out with friends and you're going to be one-on-one with someone, this foundation looks like skin and it's just so beautiful. But again, this is a great special occasion foundation because your skin just looks so spectacular with this foundation. And I think it's because of how well this blurs out the skin and just how it's just the best foundation. This is incredibly long wearing as well. It is beautiful. The other version, so the older version of the foundation, was quite glowy. This one you had to set down with powder because of how glowy it was, which made it a better foundation for like the fall and winter time. I could still use it in the summer because I'm quite dry, but with this version, it's actually less glowy than the previous version. I find it has a little bit more coverage and it's even longer lasting. So I feel like they really did improve upon this foundation. And for me, it is worth the price, even though a lot of people find it ridiculous. I completely understand. I don't feel like you have to have this because, of course, it's a foundation. You don't have to have it. I've mentioned other fantastic foundations that are really beautiful as well. But this just is like a notch above the rest. And it's a foundation that I personally will continue to purchase just because of how confident I feel when I wear this. It never looks bad. It's just a foundation I can rely on for any occasion, any event, anytime, any place. It will always look good. It will always perform well. My skin just shines and looks its best with this foundation. So again, I wear mine in the shade 040 Light Tan Ochre. And the one, I guess, downfall I want to say about this is that it does run lighter than previous Clé de Peau foundations. Usually I'll wear an 030 in their foundations, but this 040 is kind of comparable to the 030. So it does run a full shade lighter, I would say. But otherwise, everything about this foundation I love. So that is my ranking and the best and worst of the new foundations of 2022. I hope you found this helpful. I hope this wasn't too long-winded, but again, it is a foundation video and I tend to like the same things in foundations, so I hope I wasn't too repetitive. I hope you found some use out of this foundation review roundup. So maybe some of these foundations sounded like foundations you would like to pick up. Maybe you know which foundations to skip now. I'd love to know your favorite foundations that you have tried from the year of 2022. I always love hearing from you and keeping the conversation going. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.